Hello, welcome to Biology, the scientific study of life. Notice this figure, the differences or present negative pressure breathing. A mammal breathes by changing the air pressure within its lungs relative to the pressure of the outside atmosphere. Inhalation, diaphragm contracts, moves down. Notice this is the lungs and air inhaled, and notice a diaphragm. Notice also the rib cage expands as rib muscles contract. The second one, exhalation, diaphragm relaxes, moves up. And notice also the air exhaled and rib cage gets smaller as rib muscles relax. Notice the mammals here, birds, inhalation, air sacs fill, and notice the air trachea, this represents, and anterior air sacs and lungs, posterior air sacs, lungs, closer look. Notice the direction here, air, exhalation, air sacs, empty, lungs fill, air tubes, parabronchia in lung. The volume of air a mammal inhales and exhales with each breath is called tidal volume. It averages about 500 milliliters in resting humans. The maximum tidal volume during forced breathing is the vital capacity, which is about 3.4 liter, and for about 8 liter for college-age females and males, respectively. The lungs hold more air than the vital capacity. But since it is impossible to completely collapse the alveoli, residual volume of air remains in the lungs even after you forcefully exhale as much as you can. As lungs lose their resilience owing to aging or disease such as emphysema, residual volume increases at the expense of vital capacity since the lungs do not completely empty and refill with each breath cycle. Nearly inhaled air mixes with oxygen depleted residual air in the and the maximum O2 concentration in alveoli is considerably less than in the atmosphere. Though this limits the effectiveness of gas exchange, the CO2 in residual air is critical for regulating the pH of blood and breathing rate in mammals. How a bird breathes. Ventilation is much more complex in birds than in mammals. Besides lungs, birds have 8 or 9 air sacs that penetrate the abdomen, neck and wings. The air sacs do not function directly in gas exchange but act as bellows that keep air flowing through the lungs. Notice that. The entire system, lungs and air sacs, is ventilated. When the bird breathes, air follows through the system in a circuit that passes through the lungs in one direction only, regardless of whether the animal is inhaling or exhaling. Instead of alveoli, which are dead ends, the size of gas exchange in bird lungs are tiny channels called parabronchi, through which air follows in one direction. What's that? This system completely renews the air in the lungs with every exhalation, so maximum lung O2 concentrations are higher in bears than in mammals, partly because of this advantage. Bears perform much better than mammals at high altitude. For example, humans have great difficulty obtaining enough O2 when climbing the Earth's highest peaks, such as Mountain Everest in the Himalaya, but several species of bears, notable the bar-headed goose, easily fly over the same mountains during migration. Control of breathing in humans. Humans can voluntarily hold their breath or breathe faster and deeper, but most of the time automatic mechanisms regulate breathing. This ensures that the work of the respiratory system is coordinated with that of the cardiovascular system and with metabolic demands for gas exchange. The main breathing control centers are located in two regions of the brain: the medulla oblongata and the pons or the bands. The bands, aided by the control center in the bands, the medulla center sets the basic breathing rhythm. Secondary control other breathing is exerted by sensors in the aorta and carotid arteries that monitor O2 and CO2 concentrations in the blood, as well as blood's pH during deep breathing. Negative feedback mechanism prevents the lungs from overexpanded stretch. Sensors in the lung tissue send nerve impulses that inhibit the medulla's control center. The medulla's control center regulates breathing activity in response to change in pH in the tissue fluid, cerebrospinal fluid, cerebrospinal